Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh, and whatever special guest he has today, you can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good, and follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the program. We have the legendary Jim McLean teaching instruction to 200 plus LPGA, PGA Tour, and Korn Ferry Tour guests. You know him from Golf Digest. Maybe you went to one of his golf schools, the number one golf school in America. And he's going to talk about college life. Somebody had to write a book about what some of the college golf juggernaut programs are. And if anybody would know better than Jim McLean, I don't know who that person is. He's been around golf forever, knows everybody. The hallmark of this podcast has always been interesting people with interesting stories, and we got it all right here in Jim McLean. Before we go any further, if you have not subscribed to the program, would you do so? Really appreciate that. I know the sponsors appreciate that. Big thanks to Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. All right. I know you're tired of those hard seltzers and everything. So drink something better. Party. And if you don't have it at the place where you play golf, get in touch with your golf staff or the beverage staff and tell them to get in contact with Paradise Craft Distributors, the exclusive distributor of Party. If golf real estate is in your plans, no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club. There is some vacancy. The Korn Ferry Tour is coming into town just in another week or so. We're recording on Wednesday, March 25th. And nobody better than the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh, Samantha Walsh, and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. And if all that golf has you tuckered out, if you need a day to unwind, get a mani-pedi, if that's your thing, cold water plunge, hot tub, red light therapy, BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota has got you covered. All right, let's bring the man on board here. Here's Jim McLean, one of the eminent voices of golf in America. Jim, how you doing? It's great to have you on the program.
Hey, it's great to be with you today. I'm looking forward to a good talk, and I know you played college golf, so this is, I think, will be right up your alley.
Well, I'm wondering if your stories are as good as mine. I don't think law enforcement listens to this program, as far as I know, because we pushed the envelope in the back of that Purdue van with the legendary Joe Campbell behind the wheel, with a huge cigar lit as we were rolling down the road. This was the 80s, all right? Things were different. Now you can't smoke anywhere indoors. Gosh, this is crazy. So, Jim, before we get into the college stuff, where are you joining us from? Where's home for you now?
Well, I'm down in Coral Gables, Miami, Florida. We have two schools down in this area, one in Coral Gables and one on Miami Beach. So, yeah, we have 20 instructors at the Biltmore site, and we have 6 over at Miami Beach.
Before you really made your bones in teaching, I know you had a playing career, and I'm going to get into the college, but just take me back to the roots of it all. Where does your golf story begin? Where did you grow up? Take me back to the old neighborhood. Yeah,
I grew up in Seattle, Washington. So I did a lot of sports. But I kind of gravitated when I was about 12 to golf. I lived very close to a golf course. I'd caddied a little bit. My dad was a very good player. So I started playing golf. I started having some success playing, and you know how that goes. And I started winning the tournaments in the Northwest, mostly around the Seattle area. And probably the big thing was when I was 16, my dad sent me to the Western Junior, which was played at Purdue, where you are. And I lost in the semifinals, so that I kind of saw that I could play against other competition. I played in the U.S. Junior the next year and played well there. And I continued to win the Washington Junior and the Pacific Northwest PNGA Junior stuff. And then I started getting the messages, letters from Coach Williams. Then he started calling me. I had a lot of possible offers to go to college. Some in your area, Ohio State, Purdue. But for me, living in Seattle, I wanted to get out. I was thinking California, Arizona. And then Coach Williams was just such an unbelievable recruiter. I would get probably 3 letters a week. And then he would call me and he'd have somebody on the team talk to me. And he was saying, we've won the last 4 NCAA championships and we're going to win the next 4 when you're coming. So it was he's a tremendous salesman. And that's how he ended up getting 40 guys to come in those years. So you mentioned the rules weren't too significant back then. So we had a very big team. We lived in a place called Baldwin House, and the basketball team lived there as well. We shared a dorm with them, and that's why I came up with just like you said, there's so many stories that happen in the drives to tournaments. And I would say if you were in a fraternity, it happened. If you were played on a high school team, maybe a college team of any sort. I think that's why this book might have some legs, where it'd be interesting to other people how Coach Williams won 16 NCAA championships, and he was very close to winning a lot of other ones. When I left school, we'd won 12 out of the last 16 and finished second in the other 4.
Holy smokes. That is the juggernaut of juggernauts. And of course, you're talking about legendary coach Dave Williams. Jim McLean, legendary golf instructor, is our guest here on Party Time. So you must have been flattered as hell when he was sending you letters and calling you and having teammates call you and everything. And you must have felt good about your golf game that somebody like Dave Williams would want to bring you to the number 1 program in America. But when you got there and you saw 40 like other guys, what was your initial thought about that?
Yeah, it started for me getting off the plane because I had not been to Houston. It was August 17th when we went to school. And Houston probably has the worst weather, as you know, in America. It's super hot in the summer and it can get cold in the winter. But I got off the airplane. There was no jet bridge back then. This is 1968. And most people don't realize you actually walked off the plane and then you walked into the terminal. But it was like stepping into a furnace for me coming out of Seattle. I had not visited the University of Houston. And I had a cowboy drive me to Baldwin House, which was about an hour drive, no air conditioning, and then walked into Baldwin House, and I had one little bag, and I walked up there and into the center of this hall and checked in, and luckily I checked in with a first team All-American there, who was great to me, Bruce Ashworth from Las Vegas. But there was a ton of guys there, and that was the start.
Well, I just imagine like playing at Purdue, and I guess it was similar at other places. You had your 5 starters, and then you might have 5 to 7 other guys. So if somebody's struggling, if somebody gets hurt, then you're out there in. All right. So there's healthy competition, but it's a small group. But 40, holy smokes! It sounds like you could never really get comfortable. And I just wonder if some guys are undermining others trying to get in that starting lineup. You tell me, what was the dynamic, the competitive and the social dynamic of it?
Yeah. As a freshman, you were, we had to wear a sandwich board to school a lot of days, and they shaved our heads off, and we had to wear a wiffle ball on our heads to school. So that was pretty... you get knocked down pretty good.
Hold on. Just stop right there. Yeah. So this is like old school style hazing?
Yeah, we're going back. Hazing, yes.
Okay,
hazing.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. So now and then you had to, back then, these are things people don't know now. We had shag bags, so you hit your own balls on ranges. They didn't lay out range balls for you. You hit your own balls, then you picked them up. But especially that time of year, they get a lot of mud on your ball in Texas, the Texas mud. So we would have to clean the shag bags at night. That was kind of a normal night. cleaning the shag bags and the shoes, and getting we also had spikes back then. So you would clean the shoes, and then you'd have to make the quick stop runs at night where you'd go get the beers or whatever for the guys at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. So it was kind of, for that first 5 months, the first semester was pretty much a slavery situation, and yeah.
Well, I think of one of the funniest stories I've ever heard. I imagine you've heard this one too, is when Tiger Woods got to Stanford, and Nota Begay, notorious prankster, right? He says to Tiger, Tiger, I really see good things for you ahead. I see you being one of the strongest players in the Pac-10, and he's setting Tiger up. Tiger doesn't even know the setup's coming, and Tiger's like, "Yeah, thank you, Nota. I really appreciate that." And then Nota's like, "You know why you're going to be one of the strongest players? Because you're going to carry my bag. Like the freshmen carried the bag, right? Bags of the seniors load the van up. That's what happened to you in various forms. Yes."
Yes, absolutely. And at the end of the semester, or near the end, we had the final initiation, which was up on top of Baldwin House. And, we don't get into everything that happened there, but, that was kind of a harrowing period, and a lot of guys didn't like it. Guys like Sandy Lyle and Nick Faldo came for one semester and left, but a lot of guys left after one semester, and came in with 17 freshmen, and only one other guy came back with me for my sophomore year. So they bailed out, understandably, and went to other schools where they had a chance to play. But they could probably see that there's a very little chance that they're going to be on the traveling team at Houston.
Well, tell me about Sandy Lyle and Nick Faldo. Fascinated about either one. What was it like?
Yeah, it's a great story, and I don't know that much. I mean, I wrote a chapter about Faldo being coming to Houston from England and being told what to do, and he didn't play good. I mean, I talked to the guys who were there with him. That was just right after I was there, and he just didn't distinguish himself whatsoever. He was kind of a blank slate, and he ended up just leaving. And then, of course, he went back, and he had a different kind of work style. The Houston thing didn't work for everybody, that's for sure. Being in all these qualifyings and working your way up, and we played every day. There wasn't that much practice. We would leave school, drive way out to one of the courses in Houston, peg the ball up one step from the tips, and shoot a score. And that was a huge thing at Houston, was shooting a score every day. Coach recorded your score every single day where you played, and how you were doing, how you were progressing. And then we had, like you said, maybe 3 or 4 guys that were exempt. They got exempt by if we won the tournament and if your score counted. And in those days, and I think it was like this when you played too, the 4 best scores counted for the tournament. It wasn't the 4 best scores of the day. So you had to keep playing. If your score was counting, you still had to play that last day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how it was. Wow. I mean, that just sounds like a pressure cooker, but pressure creates diamonds, and I guess those that are going to shine are going to shine. How did you feel about that? Did you like that, or did you kind of feel was it crushing at times? It sounds like it is. I don't know if that program would have been for me. I don't know if it would have been good enough for it either.
Yeah, we had some really great players leave. One of them was one of my room. We had 4 in a bay. We had a bathroom in the middle. I was with Bruce Ashworth, and on the other side was Jim Simons and Mike Killian, 2 great juniors. Jim had already played in the U.S. Open, and he ended up getting kicked off the team because he wanted to go to a qualifying for the U.S. Open, a practice round, and we were supposed to play. We would play with members at clubs a lot of times on a Saturday or a Sunday, and we were playing on a Sunday. This particular one at a not great course, and Simons raised his hand. We had 40 guys in the meeting with Coach Williams, and he raised his hand. He said, "Coach, I can't play." And he said, "Hey, well, of course you're going to play. Everybody's playing." He said, "No, I've got to play a practice round for the U.S. Open. It's my only chance to play. I never played the course." And it went one thing to another, and momentarily he got thrown off the team. He said, "We don't need any more 75 shooters here at Houston." He hadn't been playing that great, but a couple of years later, Simons was leading the U.S. Open when he was a junior in college. He was leading the U.S. Open at Maryland, where you're from, and he was playing the last round with Jack Nicklaus. He was rooming with Lanny Watkins. They were both going to Wake Forest now, and Bill Rogers and I were in the next room. So we played together at practice rounds, and Jim was playing great. And of course, to lead a U.S. Open as an amateur, as a 21-year-old amateur, has almost never been done. And before the last round, I remember Lanny asked him if he was nervous going out to play with Jack, and Trevino was in the group behind him. And he said, "No, I'm not nervous. I feel pretty good." And Lanny said, "Well, did you notice your shirt's inside out?" So, you were a little bit nervous. But, we got to know, the other thing is he got to know a lot of guys who became my friends, even on other teams. So we played the University of Texas many, many times. We played way more tournaments than they do now. There's been restrictions with the NCAA, which are good because we missed a lot of school, but we played Texas a lot of times, and that was Crenshaw and Kite during those years. So that was part of the time that I was at school, and we had a lot of, also, I would say at that time, a tremendous amount of influence from Ben Hogan. So Hogan would come down and play every year at Champions with Jackie Burke and Jimmy DeMeritt. DeMeritt was a 3-time Masters champion, and Jackie was a Masters champion, and they were all good buddies. They grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. So he would come down to Champions, and then I was able to watch Hogan play quite a bit. And that was really cool.
I'll say it's cool. What was it like, and how did he treat you? Because my understanding is Ben was all business, and he wasn't exactly warm, say like a Lee Trevino could be or a Fuzzy Zeller.
Yeah, when some of the times when I went out to watch him play, it would be a cold day in the winter, damp day, and there was nobody really out there, just a few of us watching, and we stayed away. Nobody, you never jumped up on Hogan. I watched him hit balls. Then he went out and played, and he played with John Mahaffey, who had been a roommate of mine. And John went to work for Jackie Burke and DeMeritt for 1 year before he went on the tour. So he was playing with Hogan, and Hogan was helping him at that time. And John had been the NCAA champion. He's a hell of a player. And Hogan was like 57 years old at this time, and Hogan was hitting it by him, which was pretty interesting. And he was better. He was better than Mahaffey. He was helping John, but that was really cool. We were able to get close to what he was saying. But he is not talkative. That's for sure. He would talk to those guys, though. He was very friendly with Jackie Burke, and they would talk about different things. They would talk about whether Trevino was a fluke because he'd won the 69 Masters. He had the short pants, the red socks, and his girlfriend's name on his arm. It was covered up with a Band-Aid, and didn't look like a tour player, but Hogan said, no, he's going to be great. He loved the way he hit the ball. He loved the way he flighted the ball, controlled the ball. So that was cool.
Well, any story about Lee Trevino is always fantastic. And he was considered, I think even Jack Nicklaus would tell you, he was the premier ball striker back in the day because he could shape it in all different ways. And when he could putt, nobody could beat him because the ball striking was just so good. Jim, tell me this. How many times have you played at Augusta National? And I know you played in one Masters. Was it more than one Masters? I know you made
one. Yeah, just one Masters. Yeah.
Okay. How nervous were you?
Yeah, I think if you said the tee shot at Augusta and you talked to everybody, Jack Nicklaus, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, I would say that's a drive you never forget. That's an unforgettable drive. You're very nervous. It's a surreal situation. You step on the tee. I had a very late tee time. We stayed up in the Crow's Nest with some great players up there. I had to wait all day to tee off. You get on the tee, there's 10,000 people there down the first fairway and around the putting greens right behind you. And the 18th green's there and the 10th green. It's a congregational part of the course. So there's always a lot of people. And I was playing with the PGA champion, Al Geiberger, and he was hitting first. And they don't make a big deal about you teeing off at Augusta. It's not a big announcement like they do at some courses. They just slide your name into a stanchion in the back. So, you see your name go in there and wow, I'm really nervous. And Jackie Burke had given me a little advice before I left. And I said, Jackie, what am I going to do on the first tee? I know I'm going to be really nervous. And he said, take the longest backswing of your life. And he just turned around and left. And I said, that's a stupid thing. He's just jacking with me. He blew me off. But, when I got on the first tee, I remember that. And Geiberger hit first. And he was known for having the best swing on the tour, a beautiful player. I thought he was going to hit a perfect drive, and he hit a snap hook. Terrible drive into the left trees there. Terrible drive. And that's probably the greatest thing that relaxed me, so I said, well, I can at least do that good. And then I remember to take a long backswing, and I hit a pretty good drive. But yeah, I was really nervous. Very, very nervous.
I guess so. I forgot to ask you about the Green Station wagon and Dave Williams. And any stories from the Green Station wagon? I mean, just the fact that it's a Green Station wagon, it almost sounds like Scooby-Doo and the van rolling down the road or something.
Yeah, Coach was very much like Mr. Magoo driving the truck. The Green Station wagon. It was a famous thing. Usually we'd take two cars. So a lot of times, once I started playing on the team, I usually got out of it. But one year we were going to Albuquerque for the Tucker, and that was a big tournament for us. And it's a long drive from Houston all the way across Texas to New Mexico. He tried to outrun a storm, ice storm through Texas, and he didn't make it. And he went spinning there, and the car went into the ditch, and we had to push him out. And he never talked about it, but in the car, the guys with him said that, Coach, you got to slow down. He said, no, I'm going to beat this storm. He said, I think I can get ahead of this thing. Is that, in Texas, these big storms come in, big ice storms in the winter. Yeah. And he got sliding on the ice there, and he went about 6 or 8 circles around and into the ditch. That's one story, but he's had a lot of stories where we didn't know where we're going, and he's just driving around, and we always ate at one of those places where you could eat as much as you want type of places. And it was crazy.
The all you can eat buffet.
All you can eat.
Well,
yes.
With Joe Campbell at Purdue, he really loved Arby's because they had curly fries. He loved curly. Wherever Joe wanted to go, that's where we go. And we also chewed a bunch of tobacco and drank beers in the back of the van. I don't know if he knew about that, but the kind of geeky kids on the team were up front looking back whoa, what are you? And we're just turn around. Eyes on the road. We're doing our thing in the back.
Well, Coach was big about us not going to Mexico when we went down to play the Border Olympics, but everybody, all the other teams were going. So we would have the meeting with Coach. He'd say, make sure you guys get to bed. I want you to feel good. Yeah. And then we'd wait a little while. And then we'd sneak down to Litsky's car, push it out and over the border to Laredo and then back. And I think he probably knew we went, but he never said anything. And
it's college. You got to let kids live a little bit. You got to know how to get in a little bit of trouble and how to get out of it. I mean, that's life, right?
Exactly.
Jim McLean, legendary golf instructor and author of The Houston Dynasty, Tales from College Golf's Greatest Team, is our guest here on Party Time. Brought to you by the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh, Vince Vizzacaro, and Samantha Walsh from SuncoastDreams.com, the division of fine properties. If you're looking for golf real estate, they're the people you want to get in contact with. Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. And if you're tired from all that golf, go to Violet Spa in downtown Sarasota. Jim, winding things down here, the joy of teaching golf, what does it do for you and your heart, your spirit?
Well, it's done a lot for me. I thought I was going to play, of course, like we all did, and I played for a few years. But I went up to New York to Westchester County and started Westchester Country Club. Kind of took a break from having to shoot a score every day. I was a kind of a classic burnout guy. I'd played since I was a little boy, really, and super competitive. But I was just not getting better, and I'd missed the tour school, an 8-round tour school by 3 shots. And I just felt like you're a failure pretty much. And going up to New York was great for me. I started teaching. I really liked it. Had some good kids I was working with. We had the tour event there, so I was able to see a lot of my buddies. And since I knew them all, I played with them all, it was easy for me to go on the range and talk to them. They're happy to see you and loved having you come over and watch them hit some shots. So that's pretty much how I got into teaching tour players. And then I became a head professional up there. And, that life just took a turn. Then this opportunity at the Doral Resort happened, which is unexpected. I was the head professional at Sleepy Hollow Country Club in New York, which is just an unbelievable place. No intention of doing this, but they offered me, to own my own golf school, to go down and at a big resort. We had 5 courses and a par 3 course and a big tour event. So then I just went into big full-time teaching, where you're open to the world, and that's allowed me to, work with a ton of tour players and then build a big golf school. And then we've expanded to a few other nice places. And, I'm pretty careful about the quality control of what's being taught. But the other thing I would say is I've had a lot of guys that who have worked for me that have gone on to top head pro jobs or the top teaching jobs in the country. And that's been really good. We do a lot of training at the schools.
Yeah, that must do the heart real good. All right, final question here for you, Jim. If you had one tip that could help anybody, just make their game be better. For example, focus on your speed with putting or whatever. But just what's your silver bullet? What always works for anybody?
Well, I did a clinic for the members yesterday, and I bring them inside and I show them what we weren't doing driving. So I showed them some good driving stuff. I showed them a nice video of a tour player from down the line of how the club worked. We talked about a shallow angle of attack. Then we talked about tension in the hands, arms, and shoulders. Then I went out and did drills with them without a club, swinging both their arms. Then I gave them a little stick, and we would swing that until they could feel a release of the club. A lot of people were complaining that they'd been driving the ball really bad. Really worked hard on their tension. Really worked hard on their setup before we before we started hitting balls. So that probably came after 40 minutes of working, and then we had 5 balls teed up for them, and they went and hit balls, and it was really gratifying. I've been doing this a long time, but I feel like if I can get people into a good setup, they get their spine tilt good at address, they get the tension out of their wrists and arms and shoulders. And after they've just practiced doing some swings and they went over and trusted it, a couple of people just dropped the club. They couldn't believe that they could hit it like that. So, I mean, that's kind of the way I like to do it is do it in steps, a procedure. We call it the elimination theory. Is just taking things away until a person can actually do something, instead of just telling them a few things and having them hit a driver. We did really 40 minutes of training before we hit the drivers. So that worked really good. And that's really the way I teach.
That aha moment where they hit one pure, that's got to just go straight into your heart too and make you feel good. It's like a fishing guide. He helped you catch that fish. She caught that fish too. That's the high. That's the high. Jim, enjoy the conversation. Hope to see you at the Corn Ferry Tour as it comes through Lakewood National. Let's get together. I know your pupil, James Nicholas, and I'm sure he's going to document it on YouTube, did a great job last year behind the scenes at Lakewood National Golf Club. And maybe we'll make a guest appearance, both you and I.
Yeah, we should do that for sure. I'll look forward to seeing you over there. You know, my son teaches at Bobby Jones Golf Club. You should talk to Matt. He played at Wake Forest. He's working with some really good players too. He's a tremendous player himself.
In Sarasota. Yeah, let's get him on board. Holy smokes. It used to be Bobby Jones Golf Club in Sarasota was a client of Party Drinks. Yeah, we got to get him back on. We got to get him back on board. We'll work through Matt.
They did a great job with the course. Looks great, and they probably got the biggest range I've ever seen. It's tremendous. Yeah,
yeah. And a couple guys chasing it. They're playing out of Bobby Jones Golf Club in Sarasota.
Right,
Jim. Let's call it a day. Jim McLean is the author of the Houston Dynasty: Tales from College Golf's Greatest Team. Jim, where can people get the book? I forgot the plug there. Where can they find it?
Thanks. Just Amazon. They can go to jimmclean.com. But I think Amazon's the easiest. It's also an audio book. And also I wanted to mention Jim Nance did the foreword for me, and he did the audio foreword too. So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Jim actually wrote a couple blurbs for some of the books that I've done before. So we've got that golf broadcast connection. No, the best in the business, no doubt about it. And what a guy, right? Too, Jim Nance.
Big Houston Cougar guy for sure. And he of course has done all the biggest broadcasts in football and basketball. He's probably the greatest ever, like you said.
Yeah. Salt of the earth too. All right, big thanks to Party Drinks, the title sponsor of Party Time, My Golf Story. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, Party. Golf Real Estate Pros, Vince Vizzacaro, Gene Walsh, and Samantha Walsh, suncoastdreams.com, and BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. For Jim McLean, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.